Think your mechanic knows what's best for your Jeep? That assumption could cost you thousands. Some of the worst Jeep failures don't start with a bad part. They start with a mechanic making one simple mistake. The scary part? You might not notice the damage until weeks later. Here are 10 things you should never let a mechanic do to your Jeep. Number 10 is power washing the engine bay. Some shops love to hose down your engine bay before they hand the keys back to you. It looks clean, and to a customer, it looks like real work got done. But your Wrangler's fuse box sits right there in the open, packed with relays and connectors that were never meant to take a pressure washer at close range. Water gets pushed into the connectors, sits inside, and your Jeep starts acting possessed the next morning. You get no start problems, random check engine lights, and sensors that were fine yesterday suddenly aren't working right. Owners on JL Wrangler forums have posted about this for years, where a rinse job at the dealer left them stranded within a day. And here's the wild part. The JL Power Distribution Center is already known for loose fuses from the factory. A guy who works at the Stellantis plant explained on the forum that the automated fuse machine doesn't always seat every fuse all the way. So pressure washing the bay only makes that existing problem 10 times worse. You take a touchy electrical box, blast it with high-pressure water, and your Jeep turns into a science experiment. If your mechanic wants a clean engine, ask them to use a spray bottle and a rag instead of a pressure wand. The next mistake hides inside your radiator, and by the time you spot it, your Jeep is already cooking on the highway. Number 9 is using the wrong coolant. Your Jeep drinks a very specific antifreeze. Every Wrangler built after 2013 uses Mopar's purple OAT coolant, and the premix jug is Mopar part number 681-63849AB. That purple stuff is not friendly with older orange or green coolants at all. Mix them together, and you don't just get a lighter color. You get a chemical reaction inside your cooling system. Silicates drop out of the fluid and turn into a thick brown mud that Chrysler techs literally call peanut butter. Chrysler's own service bulletin, number 07-004-12, tells shops that if any mixing is suspected, drain the whole system, backflush every hose, and refill with fresh Mopar OAT. Skip that step, and the sludge clogs your heater core and radiator until your Jeep runs hot on the freeway. But here's the trap that gets even honest mechanics fooled. That purple dye fades to pale pink or almost orange over about 20,000 miles. So a quick lube tech peeks in your overflow tank, sees orange, and tops it off with generic orange antifreeze from a jug on the shelf. He thinks he's helping you out. He just started a slow-motion meltdown that will take months to show up. Watch what goes into that reservoir like it's your bank account. And the next mistake wrecks the parts that make a Jeep a Jeep. Number 8 is using the wrong differential fluid. Your Jeep has two differentials, front and rear, and they don't take the same fluid. A Sport or Sahara runs the Dana M186 up front and a Dana M200 in the rear. A Rubicon gets the beefier Dana M210 front and Dana M220 rear. Each axle wants its own gear oil, usually 75W85 in the front and either 75W85 or 75W140 in the rear, depending on your axle sales code. Look at the sticker on the door jamb for codes like DRE, DRF, or DRZ before anyone orders parts. But here's the mistake that quietly kills axles. If you have a track lock limited slip, your gear oil needs a friction modifier additive mixed in. Skip that additive, and the clutch pack inside the differential starts chattering like a haunted house every time you turn in a parking lot. It sounds like the axle is possessed because in a way, it really is. The other trap is a shop grabbing whatever gear oil is on the shelf and calling it done. Wrong weight means overheated bearings on the highway and early wear on the ring and pinion. Ask what's going into your axle before they crack open the diff cover. But wrong fluid in a differential bleeds you slowly. Wrong oil in your engine takes the whole thing out fast. Number 7 is using the wrong engine oil. Your Jeep's owner manual is very specific about oil, and most shops just ignore it. The 3.6 Pentastar V6 wants 0 W20 full synthetic that meets Fiat's MS6395 spec. The 2-liter Turbo 4 wants 5 W30. The 6.4 Hemi V8 wants 0 W40, and the 3-liter EcoDiesel V6 wants European 5W40 diesel oil. 4 different engines, 4 different specs, no shortcuts allowed. Pour the wrong one, and things start breaking in strange ways. The Pentastar has variable valve timing and tiny hydraulic lash adjusters tuned around 0W20 flow at cold start. Feed it thicker 5W30 in the winter, and those adjusters can click for weeks. The 392 Hemi is even worse. Some dealer parts writers have listed 0W20 for the 392 by mistake, which is way too thin for a 470 horsepower V8 running most of its torque just above idle. That's how you glaze cam lobes right into the metal. And on the eco-diesel, using regular synthetic instead of proper diesel spec oil bakes soot into your turbo bearings until it whistles like a kettle. Ask what jug they're pouring in. Check the label yourself before you pay. But it's not just the wrong bottle that hurts engines. It's the wrong torque wrench on the parts that seal them. Quick pause. If you want your Jeep to last for years without wasting thousands on preventable repairs, grab the 500,000-mile Jeep Blueprint. The link is in the description below. Number 6 is cranking down on the oil filter housing. Here's where mechanics with too much muscle cost you real money. The 3.6 Pentastar has a plastic oil filter housing on top of the engine, with a plastic cap that unscrews to change the filter. Correct torque on that cap is only about 18 foot-pounds, roughly the same as tightening a mason jar hard by hand. Blast it on with an air impact gun, and the plastic cap cracks right down the middle. Now you've got oil leaking out of your engine and a $200 replacement part on the invoice. The drain plug on the oil pan is even worse. That plug threads into aluminum, and aluminum strips fast under pressure. Correct torque there is only about 20 foot-pounds. Same idea as the cap. If your tech muscles it down like a lug nut, he'll strip the threads out of the oil pan, and now you're looking at a time cert repair or a whole new pan. And here's a hidden receipt most owners never learn about. The 3.6 Pentastar's plastic oil cooler housing sits deep in the engine valley and cracks with heat cycling over time. Repair at a shop runs $400 to $900 and up to $1,400 at a dealer. The pro move is to swap it for the Dorman aluminum housing so the failure never repeats. That same over-torquing rule that saves your oil pan also saves the 4 things holding your wheels on. Number 5 is over-torquing your lug nuts. The lug nut torque spec on a JL Wrangler and JT Gladiator is exactly 130 foot-pounds. Every wheel needs to hit that number in a star pattern with a real torque wrench, no shortcuts allowed. But there's a trap for honest shops too. The older JK Wrangler used about 100 foot-pounds on smaller studs. So a lot of shops, and even some discount tire computer systems, still show the JL as 100 pounds because their database is stuck in the JK era. Others go the other way and blast the nuts on with an impact gun until the studs stretch out. The result is warped brake rotors, snapped studs on the side of the highway, and a shake in your steering wheel above 60 miles per hour that no one can trace. Owners on Wrangler Forum have posted receipts of exactly this, going in for a simple tire rotation and coming out with a pulsing brake pedal a week later. If you run aftermarket wheels with spline lug nuts, check the wheel maker's own spec, because some are rated lower at 85 to 95 foot-pounds. And here's the boring truth no shop wants to say out loud. If they don't have a torque wrench in their hand at the wheel, they don't know how tight they made your Jeep. Now let's step out from under the Jeep, because the next mistake happens inside a laptop plugged into your dash. Number 4 is flashing your Jeep's computer on a dead battery. Modern Jeeps run on software from bumper to bumper. Recalls, updates, and drivability fixes come as a flash to the PCM, which is the main engine computer under your hood. Dealers do this with a Stellantis tool called YTech tool, plugged straight into your OBD port. And Chrysler's own service bulletins are very clear about what has to happen first. Hook up a real battery charger to the terminals. Keep voltage between 13.2 and 13.5 volts during the whole flash. Never let the process get interrupted. Because if the voltage drops or the connection burps in the middle of a flash, the module locks up hard. Techs literally call it a bricked module. And this isn't theoretical, it's happened plenty. A Jeep Garage forum owner posted about a recall flash on his Jeep where YTech lost communication mid-update, and his PCM was cooked dead right there in the shop bay. A new PCM plus the programming labor is not cheap, and no warranty covers it. And most shops move on to the next customer while the flash is running, so nobody's watching the voltage. Before your Jeep goes in for any recall or software update, ask one simple question. Is my battery being charged during the flash? If the tech shrugs, walk out of the shop. A bricked PCM is bad, but a Jeep that shakes itself off the highway is worse, and the next mistake is how mechanics let that happen. Number 3 is doing an alignment before checking the track bar. If your Jeep pulls to one side, most shops throw it on the alignment rack and start turning tie rod ends. That works for a Camry. It's malpractice on a Wrangler. Your Jeep has a solid front axle held in place by one long bar called the track bar. If that bar or its bolts are loose, your whole front end wanders no matter what the alignment machine says. And here's the receipt. NHTSA recall 18V675 covered about 18,000 JLs built in the summer of 2018, where the track bar bracket had welds off the seam that could actually separate from the frame. Yes, separate from the frame. That was a factory defect on a brand new Jeep. Even outside that recall, the track bar frame side bolt is spec'd around 125 foot-pounds, and loose bolts oval out the frame hole over time. If a shop skips that check and starts adjusting toe, you'll pay for the alignment, drive home, and still have a Jeep that wanders. Lifted Jeeps are even trickier because the caster angle drops when you add a lift kit. Stock spec is around 4 to 6 degrees of caster. A 3-inch lift kills that number, and adjustable control arms are the only real fix. But an alignment on a healthy Jeep is only step 1. The biggest lie in Jeep repair is coming next. Number 2 is just replacing the steering damper for death wobble. You've probably heard the words death wobble floating around Jeep forums for years. It's the violent front-end shake that hits between 45 and 65 miles per hour on a JL or JT, usually right after you clip a bump. It's scary as hell, and it's real. And here's the mechanic move that infuriates every honest tech in the country. A shop hears death wobble, sells you a new steering damper, and sends you out the door with a smile. That damper is not the cause. It only masks the shake for a few weeks. The real causes are loose ball joints, worn tie rod ends, a bad track bar, or wrong caster angles. Chrysler even issued Technical Service Bulletin 02-004-21, telling techs that on JLs and JTs built between September of 2020 and August of 2021, the lower ball joints work loose and trigger death wobble. The fix is retorquing those specific ball joints, not a new damper. In 2023, a class action settlement identified about 192,000 Wranglers hit by death wobble, with warranties extended to 8 years or 90,000 miles. Chrysler's own compliance officer told the Detroit Free Press the whole thing is a suspension shake that won't slow down or fade away once it starts. Anyone selling you a damper as the fix is selling you a Band-Aid on a broken bone. Number 1 is ignoring the open recalls on your VIN. This last one might be the scariest of all because you can't see it, but it can kill your Jeep in your own driveway tonight. In June of 2026, Chrysler recalled over 1 million Wranglers and Gladiators from model years 2021 through 2025. NHTSA recall number 26V-363, covering 1,076,999 vehicles. The problem is the electric hydraulic power steering pump connector, which can overheat and catch fire even when the Jeep is parked with the key out. NHTSA is aware of 51 fires and 1 injury tied to this defect. Chrysler is telling owners to park outside and away from buildings until the repair is done. There's another one from 2020 and 2021. NHTSA recalls 20V124000 and its expansion 21V028000, covering about 42,000 manual transmission Jeeps, where the clutch pressure plate can overheat, crack the transmission case, and start a fire. And here's the horror. A regular independent mechanic almost never checks your VIN for open recalls unless you specifically ask him to. So you have to type your VIN into nhtsa.gov yourself tonight and see what's actually open on your Jeep. That's the free 10-second fix that can save your Jeep, your entire garage, and your life. Which of these mistakes has a mechanic made on your Jeep? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this useful, hit subscribe and click the video on your screen for more Jeep tips every owner should know. See you in the next one.